Hi everybody, this is Agnes from Sediment, and today let's explore 5 Italian wines with great aging potential. You know me, I don't mind my wines being filled with fresh and bright fruit. And I am certainly not the one who will judge you if you have opened your wine too soon. In fact, once the wine is bottled and sold off, there is no such thing as opening wine too soon. However, that doesn't mean that wine cannot age, and doing so develop extra flavors and aroma layers often described as tertiary elements, soften the tannin structure and create an overall balanced and complex wine. So when standing in the wine aisle and choosing a bottle not for tonight but for that special occasion years later, you might want to know which wines can stand the test of time. Today, let's explore the Italian edition. I truly believe that Chianti Classico is one of the most dynamic appellations in Italy and has certainly developed immensely within the last 10 years or so. It is no longer associated with a simple red cherry fruit-driven wine that you can enjoy with pizza and forget about the moment you leave the table. Nowadays, Chianti Classico is an intense and concentrated wine increasingly made from 100% Sangiovese with lively acidity and a firm tannin structure. While you wouldn't want to stash too far away your regular Chianti Classico, not because they lack aging potential, but rather because they tend to offer juicy fruit that is so pleasant early in their age. Chianti Classico Riserva and Gran Selezione are the two categories that are certainly worth forgetting in your cellars. Not only do they tend to have higher fruit concentration and intensity, helping in the development, but the best examples will live for 10 years or more. For those of you who wished to see Brunello di Montalcino on this list, representing Sangiovese grape variety, I do love these wines and I certainly have a lot of them in my cellar. However, lately I have noticed that Chianti Classico in general offers lighter style and brighter acidity, and they are released earlier in their life, giving certain handicap when cellaring. This list couldn't be complete without mentioning the greatest wines made from Nebbiolo grape variety, Barolo and Barbaresco. Technically speaking, acidity, tannin and alcohol are the 3 elements that contribute to the aging potential of the wine, with higher levels of all 3 helping to preserve it. Nebbiolo has it all. It is notoriously famous for developing high levels of mouth-coating tannins, high mouth-watering acidity, and it is one of the last grapes to be harvested in the area, resulting in high sugar levels, which translates into elevated alcohol. However, these elements don't do much if there is no flavors to support them. And here Nebbiolo doesn't disappoint. It is not a grape that creates fruit bombs, but rather offers captivating flavors of wild forest berries, lilac and earthy elements. Don't expect tannins to become softer with age. They will still be the defining element of the wine. However, depth of aroma is where the greatest Barolos and Barbarescos deliver. Think of wild truffles, autumn leaves, black earth and forest floor. 10 or 20 years are nothing for the top bottlings of these wines. For example, last year I had an opportunity to taste Barolo from 1973, and it still showed fruit and didn't seem to lose liveliness even after a significant time spent in the glass. A 50-year-old wine. It is older than me. Taurasi is definitely a less known than my previously mentioned examples, and what a shame it is. It is an appellation in the southern part of Italy, Campania, and is made from Aglianico grape variety. Often described as Nebbiolo of the South, it too produces full-bodied and tannic wines. While DOCG regulations do not require it to constitute 100% to label wine as Taurasi, the best examples will be made entirely from Aglianico. While some might expect jammy fruit and plump ripeness, it shouldn't be the case. Taurasi is not necessarily a hot appellation, as the vineyards are found at elevations between 300 up to 800 meters above sea level, offering wines high temperature swings between day and night. This also helps to preserve the acidity in the grapes. Aglianico creates deeply colored wines with fragrant character, providing both dark fruit and berry flavors as well as meatier, smokier notes. In all honesty, I don't have as much experience with aged Taurasi as I do with Chianti Classico and Barolo, but I have here an example from 2016 vintage. Despite being already 8 years old, it still feels very fresh and lively, and I can easily promise this wine will live for another 10 years, making Aglianico amongst the most long-lived grape varieties. One small note, while it might be harder to find than my previously mentioned examples, it will certainly be more affordable. Etna Rosso is made from Nerello Mascalese with sometimes small additions of other grape varieties such as Nerello Cappuccio. However, since the Nerello Mascalese is the main grape variety, I will be focusing on it. Interestingly, even though Nerello Mascalese is a relatively old grape variety, or at least it has been planted in the Etna area for a while, only very recently it has reached fame status. It is yet another grape variety on this list, offering lighter color, similarly as with Sangiovese and Nebbiolo, but it delivers great structure and flavor depth. This just proves how wine's color says nothing about its quality and ability to age. The flavors that Etna Rosso offers are usually towards red berries with sour cherries and raspberries dominant. I find its tannins to be elevated and firm with rather lively and bright acidity. With age, these wines will develop more herbal characters and dried floral notes that coat the fruit, making wines so much more complex and inviting. Some argue that Nerello Mascalese is similar to Pinot Noir. I have tasted it many times blind, and while I do think that it can offer the same delicacy of fruit, it shows fuller and heavier body. 7 to 15 years these wines can definitely age, especially if sourced from the top producers. However, be wary, these wines are by no means cheap. I mentioned before that there are several elements that can aid in wine's ability to age. Those were alcohol, tannin, and acidity. However, I didn't mention another element, which is sugar. I sincerely believe that sweet wines or wines with some residual sugar can age beautifully and develop notes of aroma that bone-dry wines simply cannot. And that is one of the reasons why I'm not the biggest fan of zero dosage champagnes, but that is a story for another time. Even though Recioto is the original style, and both Amarone and Ripasso as categories have developed much later, nowadays it plays a minor role in the Valpolicella area. It is one of the rare high-quality red sweet wines made from dried grapes. However, not all sugar is allowed to ferment into alcohol, leaving the wine rather sweet. The alcohol level of these wines still tends to be relatively high and can even reach 14%, but in skillful hands it will be well integrated and wrapped within dried fruit characters. And sugar with time develops these caramel-like and sweet toast elements that just play beautifully with ripe red fruit. While I wouldn't go as far as to age these wines for decades, I think up to 10 years and these wines will age beautifully. Let me know in the comments which Italian red wines I've missed on this list, and you might also be interested in the next video where I talk about wines I will be filling my cellar with this year.